I again highlight the crucial ingredients in whatever we are doing. Here we are talking about prosperity through business. And with that, in order to achieve prosperity, number one, you produce a good or a service. You produce a product. It can be a good or a service. And once you produce it, in order for it to give you money, you must sell it. Somebody must buy it. So the relationship between the producers of goods and services and the consumers of those goods and services, this is very crucial. This is something people did not understand initially. In Europe, there was a clever man called Adam Smith. In 1776, he wrote a book entitled The Source of the Wealth of Nations. Because at that time there was a lot of confusion in the world. People did not know where wealth came from, especially in Europe. In Europe, they were having a lot of confusion. Europe had been through the Dark Ages from the time of the collapse of the Roman Empire in 450 AD, and for 1,000 years they were in the Dark Ages. They were in chaos. Then in 1400 they started getting some peace and what they were calling the Renaissance. The Renaissance, the rebirth of knowledge. But still, they did not know how to move forward, because people came with confused ideas. One idea which they came up with was what they called bullionism. Bullionism. Some people thought that if you had a lot of gold, a lot of silver, then you would be a rich country. That's why there was the theory of bullionism. And that's what some of the countries did, like Spain and Portugal. They went to South America, killed all the Indians there, stole the gold, but ended up being the most backward countries in Europe. So, bullionism was not working. Then there was another group in France. They were called physiocrats. These physiocrats believed that agriculture was the source of value. That if you had agriculture, you had all the wealth. Then, of course, later on we had people like Karl Marx, who said that labor, the workers, were the most important element in wealth. But Adam Smith helped the world to understand by saying that wealth will come from specialization and exchange. You specialize in something you are good at, and you concentrate on it, and you produce it, and you exchange it to somebody else. That will create more wealth. So Adam Smith, therefore, contributed to the clarification of thinking. Because in the world, many of the things are distorted by wrong thinking. Yes. You think wrongly, you end up with wrong results. So, therefore, Adam Smith helped with the issue of knowing that private effort, specialization, private initiative will create more wealth than other methods. Free enterprise, in other words, free enterprise. But he forgot one thing. He did not analyze the issue of, he dealt with the issue of how to produce, but forgot to deal with the issue of who buys what you produce. That's why by 1929, the capitalist system in Europe had a crisis. It was called the Great Depression. It collapsed. And that's how you had another man, another thinker, called Maynard Keynes, who came and pointed out that, you see, it is better you make somebody dig a hole and you don't put anything there, and you make him fill it again, and you pay him. Because once you pay him, he will go to the shops and buy what is in the shops. And buying in the shops will stimulate more production. So I think all these wonderful planners whom I see running up and down in the world, we have got all sorts of planners running up and down. They should remember these crucial elements. Number one, production of a good or a service. Number two, who will buy this good or service? And in the case of Uganda, you have the possibility of both. You can come here, you produce any good or service you want to produce, and you will have assured markets. Market number one, 46 million Ugandans. They are here, they will buy. Then you have 300 million East Africans. Because we organized these markets, we were clear from the beginning that we needed these markets. That's why we worked on the issue of regional integration. So you have the market of East Africa of 300 million people. We are now working on the market of Africa, what we call CFTA, Continental Free Trade Area, of 1.5 billion people. And by those Ugandan women are producing a lot of children, very active with children. So by 2050, population of Africa will be 2.5 billion. It will be the biggest population on earth. Up to now, Africa has been underpopulated. Because you can hear that even today, population of Africa now is about 1.5 billion. We have just overtaken India and China. But remember that that India is 1 million square miles of land. Africa is 12 million square miles. So you can fit India into Africa 12 times, and it will fit there. So therefore, Africa has got capacity to accommodate more population. So therefore, in terms of business planning, when you are here, you are in the right place at the right time. In terms of planning, so you can have the production, you have the market of Uganda, market of East Africa, market of Africa. But also, we have negotiated with the United States for what we call AGOA, African Growth Opportunity Act, where we can sell to the United States. You know, there are many Africans in the United States. They were taken there as slaves, but they are now a very powerful group there. And one of them, you remember, was president of that country recently. You must have heard of that African who was president of United States. And we have trade arrangements with China and with the UAE, not UAE, European Union. So therefore you have the internal market, you have the regional market, you have the continental market, and then you have got the third party markets, including like the one of Dubai, of UAE. So now, number 3, you need infrastructure. You need infrastructure to do a number of things. First of all, to power the production, like you need electricity to power the factories and so on. You need the water to use in the factories. You need the telephones. You need the transport, the roads, the railway, the ports, the water transport. All that is part of infrastructure, so that you are connected, so that the producer of the good or the service is connected to the consumer. Now, all these are in place, or are being put in place, or can be put in place here in the case of Uganda. Then you need the natural resources. And Uganda has got a big spectrum, a wide spectrum of natural resources from which you can produce the goods or the services. As you can see, we have got very good agriculture. If you look at recently there were problems in the world, war in Ukraine, Corona, what? And many people in the other parts of the world had a lot of problems. Inflation went up. Inflation. Here, initially inflation went up a bit to 10%, but it is now 2%. It is one of the lowest in the world, the inflation rate. Why? Because we have got everything here. We have got food, except those who don't want to eat our indigenous food. They are the ones who suffer. But like me, I have no problem at all. We have all the food, the biggest, greatest foods here. We have the raw materials for everything else, for textiles, for what? From agriculture.